Welcome to another edition of That Time When. I am Matt Miller. This is the podcast series where I take you through the archive of Trekzone. We're kicking off the 2019 podcast now. We are seven seasons through all of Trekzone's offerings. Kicking off with this one, Dr. Brad Tucker. Before Talkin Science kicked off, he beamed in to kick off 2019 and told us that science never sleeps.
This is Trekzone's That Time When. And you can get exclusive behind-the-scenes info and first-play access to all Trekzone podcasts by becoming a member today. Click join on every Trekzone video on YouTube. Go to thetrek.zone/support or scan the QR code on screen throughout the show.
Welcome to the show. Matt Miller with you. It may only be day 2 of 2019, but science never sleeps. And I've called up a lovely man that never sleeps also, Dr. Brad Tucker from Canberra. Thanks so much for your time, man.
No worries. Yes, science never sleeps, neither do I, especially when there's flying spacecraft above you.
It's incredible. There are a couple of exciting things happening in the solar system right now, aren't there?
That's right. And what just happened is about 14 hours ago or so local time, New Horizons. People might remember that name for when this is the probe that passed Pluto in July 2015, where everyone fell in love with. Just passed its next object, what we call Ultima Thule, and the first images just arrived here on Earth less than an hour ago.
And they are available, and I've got it here on screen now for those watching on YouTube. It's a peanut.
It is. It is a space peanut. And look, it might, this blurry image might not look like a lot, but it's 6.5 billion kilometers away. It took over 8 hours to get here to Earth. It's actually traveling, the data download is slower than a dial-up modem. It's one of those things where it's quite impressive that you actually got this. And the higher res images will trickle out over the next days to weeks to months.
It is an absolutely incredible image, and the scale of it is just so hard to comprehend that it took another 3 years from Pluto to get here.
That's right. The New Horizons left Earth in 2005, arrived in Pluto in July 2015, and just now today arrived at its next object. And that's just the next thing it did. When we talk about space being big, I don't think people appreciate space is big, and there's sometimes not ways around it. This thing is traveling 50,000 kilometers an hour, and it took 3.5 years to get there from Pluto.
Now, it was a stretch goal for NASA, wasn't it? Because New Horizons was intended to go to Pluto. Then they found Ultima Thule, and they went, well, why don't we just go there? Yeah,
so it was, the goal of this mission, was, he said, was to fly by Pluto. And those, the images and data are fantastic from Pluto, and people are still analyzing it. And it was always hoped that when it was built, there'd be enough fuel and energy that they could do one maneuver to go past another of these objects. So all of these objects are what we call the Kuiper belt. This is the body of solar system. We have the asteroid belt in between Mars and Jupiter. This is a different belt of objects on the outside of our solar system. And it was always hoped that we'd be able to pass by one. And what happened was in 2013 and 2014, it hadn't been discovered yet. An object hadn't been discovered yet. So there was a team that used a Hubble Space Telescope to look at a ton of data and a ton of area to see, can we find another object? And they found this one, what's called 2014 MU69. But because that's a terrible name, Ultima Thule is the nickname of preference.
I love it. And is there enough? I think I was reading on BBC that there might be enough fuel to go somewhere else, one more place, or is that?
There is. So there's enough battery and energy to go for another 20 years. And this maneuver required so little turning that they now are confident if they find the right target, they can go by a third object. And this is quite important. It's been well established that the Kuiper belt has 2 distinct regions, the inner region where Pluto is. And with these, it's actually been theorized that they actually could have been just part of the normal solar system and got flung out by Uranus and Neptune. Then there's the second part of the Kuiper belt object, which is where Ultima Thule is, which is formed there and stayed there. So essentially it's been there since the beginning of our solar system 4.6 billion years ago. So finding another one of these where we've only seen now one, literally one, a peanut one, is the interesting part. So they would like to do another maneuver.
The best thing for me as an Australian that learnt was that Tidbinbilla is going to be one of those key tracking stations downloading the data when it starts coming in next week, I believe it is.
That's right, exactly. So they were part of the communication and the triangulation, essentially, for the flyby. They will get the first high-res image downloaded to Earth later this week, and that's kind of always one of the cool things is Australia always has this role, no matter where we look, in these really cool space missions.